Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast. With me, as always, is someone who no longer operates from a secret techno lair. It's my co-host, Sema. Hello there, Sema.
I should have looked ahead at that one. I do not get that reference.
You do not? Well, in order to...
Oh, that's right.
One monitor
Right.
is a computer desk. You get like 2, 3, get up to like 3 or 4 monitors, and now you're bordering on evil.
Villain. Yes, you're right. My second monitor hit the dust last week, so I'm operating with one monitor, and now I feel like, a prairie wife or something. Maybe I should go back to the simple life.
Yes, I know. Yeah, geez. It's like might as well go back to horse and buggy and be lighting a fire at night, reading by
Exactly.
candlelight. One monitor. Jeez. So yes,
I thought about putting my iPad where my right now where my second monitor is. It's still there, but it's just like this little black hole.
duct tape
Like
the
I'm missing
iPad right onto
limb or
it.
something. My eye still goes over there when I hear a Discord ping.
Yeah, you should just like duct tape your iPad up on top of it, and then you can. Then it would be just like a.
Or like a screenshot of Discord. It just
print out a screenshot of Discord. Yeah, tape it up there. That'd be hilarious. Yep. Yeah. So thank you for holding down the fort. I do have to say to you, arigato gozaimasu for
arigato gozaimasu.
Arigato
As
gozaimasu.
well.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. I had quite a bit of fun in Japan while you were holding down the fort here. I know a lot of things were going on. But yeah. Total Galactic
And I was
War.
doing it with one monitor.
Yeah, that's rough. You're struggling. The struggle was real. But yeah, I saw some cool video game stuff in Japan even when I was there. So two things that I was going to just mention from a video game perspective, but I can answer any other questions like is maybe in the post show because we talked about it a little bit in the pre-show too. But one of the key things that I saw when I was out there was this shop. There was a really cool shop called Super Potato. Every shop, every restaurant, everything in Japan is very, very small, very small. So this was 4 floors, but each of the floors was like 15 by 15. So
Wow.
and the stairways to get from floor to floor, you walked up the stairway, and you could only one person could walk on the stairway at a time. So people were coming down and going up, and it was quite a challenge. And that's why no one is overweight in Japan, because they wouldn't fit anywhere. But they had mostly like Japanese games, PlayStation, Game Boy, but going all the way back to Famicom, the original Game Boy. They had every kind of used game you could imagine in all these collections, and it was super cool to see. So it was some amazing, just some amazing view of all of just like all that history that's there. I know a couple people. Well, Scott Johnson does a retro game podcast all about retro games, and I took a couple of these screenshots and sent it to him. Like here's Sega Dreamcast, Nintendo 64. You could buy actual Nintendo 64s. You could buy Sega Dreamcast. It was crazy. All the stuff that they had.
Why is it called Super Potato?
Who knows? This everything in Japan is like crazy bonk head funny land, and it's a Michelin star sushi restaurant. There's probably translation differences going on there. And then I don't have a picture of it, but we also went to a popular Japanese arcade in Shibuya, and it's one of those arcades where they have like one floor of all of the the DDR machines, and the DDR machines. And if you've ever seen like the videos of like the really good people like with like a video on YouTube of somebody that's like super good, who's going, doing perfect, and their legs are just winging all over the place. That's what those people lived here. And they looked like business people. A couple of them were like in a business suit, but they would like have their own setup. And one floor was DDR machines on one side, and on the other side it was these like mixing board, like a DJ mixing board with a turntable, and then like a couple buttons and a couple sliders, and you had to like do the rhythm game on the mixing board. So that one was pretty amazing to see. Like this dude, he was like holding on to the rail on the back and just letting his feet just like wing around and
Wow.
going nuts. And then there's this other one, and it was even more amazing. It was a whole floor of these machines that looked like washing machines. So it was like a stand-up washing machine with a round, like the front of a washing machine that you're looking at, with like 12 buttons around it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the buttons are all around the outside, and the middle is a screen, and the middle of the screen is also a touch screen. And the two guys that were the masters of this that were on there the whole time we were there, they had special gloves, and it was their own gloves, because then you could slide better when you're doing the touch on the screen. So it must have been pressure sensitive. And there would be like bubbles that would be flowing out from the middle of the screen, and you'd have to press the button or multiple buttons on the sides of the screen when the bubbles hit the outside. And then it ended up being like rhythm. It would be like button, 1, 2, 3, then press these two, then press these two, then double, and then you got to slide your hand around or slide from one side to the other. But the speed is just crazy. So look up those videos, and that stuff is all real and is like, it happens every day. It just like, that's just what they do. And so it's not like those, like if you look up those videos, it's not a one-off. We just went in there at a random time on a random day, and it was just all going nuts. But yeah, otherwise we had a super fun trip. We did a lot of the nature things. We were walking 20,000 steps a day. I really liked the shrines in the forest, like at the bamboo forest, in Kyoto. We did go to, the Fushimi Inari, 1,000 Torii Gates shrine, which I liked, and I liked the idea of, but there were definitely better shrines, and I'll kind of explain why. I've got some pictures though of it as well. Some couple good photos of it. It's a high mountain. You're hiking up the mountain the whole time, and there is literally, they say 10,000, but I think that includes like little replica ones that they'll put on like some of the smaller side shrine. There's like little shrine statues, like little 8 foot tall stone shrine. And then they'll have like little replica gates as like a also on, an honor and set this to the side, but they've got thousands of them anyway. So it's these long stretches, and you're hiking upstairs for at least 40 minutes if you're going at a solid clip, to get all the way to the top. But I found out when I was there, and this was a little bit of dismay, was that the whole idea of this shrine and all of these Torii gates is the shrine to prosperity, to like abundance and prosperity, and each of the shrines is purchased by a sponsor, like McDonald's and Starbucks. So they buy a Torii gate, they donate money to buy a Torii gate, and that's when another Torii gate goes up. So if you go up and you like go through all the Torii gates, it's just commercially purchased Torii gates the whole way. And then at each of like the levels, like you're going up the mountain, there's like a stopping level where on one side there'll be like this, 500-year-old set of these shrine of like these stone, small stone shrines, Buddhist shrines. And on the right-hand side, at every one of these, the whole path is filled with like a gift shop with like the cheap craft souvenirs. It was, if you zoom out for a second, it's the most commercial thing you could possibly imagine. I could not believe it. This, hundreds of year old shrine. I think we could. So the chat room's saying we should purchase a new Overlords one. I bet we could. It is crazy how commercial. So I think I have one of the path down, because on the downward side, if you could read Japanese, then you could actually read each of the sponsors on the downward side. But here you can see like OAG. This is OAG's Torygate. But each of these is like the sponsor who bought this shrine. So that one wasn't as, and there's my daughter, looking a little winded, but boy, they were all my troop, my kids were hiking a crazy amount. And then the other one that I really liked, what was that called? I've got a note here on what it was called. That one is the Tenryuji. Yeah, Tenryuji Temple and Garden. And that shrine was a temple that restored Buddhist temple that looked exactly like, and here's the video game tie-in, just get back to video games, exactly like all the temples are going through in Assassin's Creed Shadows. And you really got that feeling. And this one you get to tour on the inside, and it's beautifully restored. And all of the temples that you're going to are active temples, and they ask you not to take photos of like the actual Buddhist altar that's inside of each of the temples. But it looked exactly like Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I kept wanting to like climb up on the roofs and jump off. But this one was beautiful, amazing place, and it was really cool to go in it. So you take your shoes off, and then you can walk around through the whole thing, because then they were synthetic, but there's like the woven mats, and you could like sit down for a while and just have a quiet moment. And everyone is very respectful and quiet everywhere in Japan. It's a really amazing culture that way. But a lot of the places that we want, I really got that Assassin's Creed Shadows feel going on. A couple of the other sort of like castles that we went and visited. So if you are going to go do some of that countryside touring, I recommend playing Assassin's Creed Shadows. So that is my Japan tour, Tokyo and Kyoto. Join the post show or chat me up in Discord. I can answer any other questions, but it was cool. All right. With that, I think we can move on to some more actual video game news.
Good news, everyone.
Okay. So first up in the news, I've got mixed feelings on this, of course. Death Stranding has released, and by all accounts, by all reviews, for the few people that can play it, and it's not that few, but it's supposed to be really good.
But it is a finite number.
Right. It's many fewer than could play it, right? Because it's PlayStation only. And I don't know why they insist on doing this, because they think selling hardware is, it's 2025, Sony. Selling hardware is so last millennium. I would be playing this game, especially after watching this IGN review. So there's a 35-minute IGN video essay review of the game that goes into so much depth. It's nearly a love letter to the entire franchise. Simon, I think, is the reviewer's name. Simon Cardy. He does an amazing job with this interview, and it made me want to play it, because he also talks about the gameplay and the progression system and what you're doing and how the vehicles work and the stealth gameplay and the weapons that you get and why, what makes actually the gameplay interesting, which is what really turned me off from the first one, and besides it being on PlayStation to start, but I never then caught up with it even after, because a lot of people even still say the ironically, 10 out of 10, amazing game. Actually playing the game is kind of boring and sucks, but 10 out of 10. Well, what do you mean 10 out of 10 if the actual game isn't that fun? Walking simulator for the first couple hours before you even see some of the interesting story. Well, that doesn't sound very fun. But they've cleaned up the gameplay. It's still deliver boxes, but you get to deliver boxes in more interesting ways. There's more like a little bit of like stealth fighting going on, but the story is supposed to be really come forth and shine quite a bit as well. I don't know if you've seen much of this, Sema. It seems like another one of those good ones where watching the cinematics might
Be the meat of the game.
yeah, and
Yeah.
a really good way to consume it. So Stask is saying pass. Watch the video. Watch like the first 5 minutes of the video from Simon, because once he started like talking about the progression and the tools and the vehicles, I was like, oh yeah, I do. Oh well, that looks kind of cool. I want to do that. But again, you might get into it and start playing it and go, no, I'm walking here.
He's like, that's my day job, so I don't know that I want that for my game.
True. Yeah, actually, Stask, you would be the master of this. You're right. Absolutely. Stask you would probably, you could like have a whole YouTube channel of doing this in real life and then going on stream and doing it. You could like live stream them both and compare them.
And then the apex would be when you took things from the game, like that little red vehicle, and used it in real life to deliver packages.
Yes, you could drive around on a little 3-wheeler. That would be awesome. I want to see my mail carrier Megan do that. Megan's the best. Related to this, Hideo Kojima talked about Death Stranding 2 in a recent interview, and one of the things he said, which was of course immediately misquoted and made a headline on 1,000 internet articles, was the headline was Hideo Kojima thought the game was hurt. The playtesters thought it was too good, so Hideo made the game worse. And that is not exactly what he said. So, and IGN's subtitle to this article does explain it quite a bit better. And he changed stuff in the script and the way some crucial things play out because he thought the work was not polarizing enough. Because when the playtesters were playing it, all the feedback was coming from all the playtesters saying, yeah, oh, great, I had such a good time. It's looking really good. Everything, all the story is perfect. And he felt like, well, if everyone is happy, if I'm pleasing everyone, then it sounds pretty bread and butter mediocre, and maybe I'm not challenging. As the artist that he is, he felt like he is not challenging the viewer enough. So he took some steps to challenge the viewer and piss some people off, apparently, because then that makes your art better. If somebody's mad, that means your art's good. Not really, but okay.
Or if somebody's left out.
Right. Yeah. If nobody feels bad, did I really do my job? Everybody
like,
likes the
if everyone understands my art, then clearly
everybody likes the Mona Lisa a little bit too much. I'm gonna have to like
paint a mustache on her.
Yeah. Because that'll piss some people off. Yeah. So, but he's his own thing, and he gets to do what he wants, and everybody kind of just goes along with that. So cool. This next article, we got this happened kind of like when I was gone. So this news mostly came out on the 17th that Xbox did their announcements where they're starting to talk about some of the design concept going into their next gen console, and talking about Death Stranding 2 and PlayStation and locked to PlayStation really brought this to forefront for me, because Microsoft is talking more and more about going in the opposite direction. In fact, they're hinting that the next Xbox, whatever it's going to be, is going to be so PC-like, they're going to put the Steam store potentially. Now, this is all speculation. Yes. But put Steam on the Xbox.
That's right, man. You can't beat them. Join them.
Can't beat them. Join them. And
the enemy are us.
They just want all games. They spent many years now wanting all of their games to be played everywhere. And now they're starting to go the opposite direction too. Let's get all games to be played on our platform too.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant, and I think it's really good for us as gamers. I think it's one of the most pro gamer moves. On doubling down on their previous pro gamer move was let's let all our games be played everywhere. Everything's an Xbox. And now an Xbox is also the game player for everything, except for Sony exclusives and Nintendo exclusives. However, if they go further this direction and Steam continues just to be the ubiquitous platform that it is, and Steam Deck continues to grow, and the AMD device, the Asus ROG device continues to grow, Sony and Nintendo are going to continue. Sony in particular is going to continue to look like a standout. Nintendo is their own thing, because Nintendo gets away with, yeah, we've got new hardware. It's going to be slower and weaker and lower resolution, and it's going to lock games to our platform, and you're going to love it. And all of their fans are like, yes, that's
I want
what
one.
we wanted. Slower, weaker, and limited number of games. Count me in.
I'm there.
But it works for them, and why would they change? And they don't care about changing. Whereas Sony is now starting to, when they go cross-platforms with their games, doubling or tripling the sales of the game because they're releasing it to Steam. Why would Sony just not break down those walls and say, fine, releases on all, no more exclusives, just release all this stuff and give us all the money, because they're going to make more money off of it. They're making less money because they're wedded to this idea of the console war, and they're winning console war. So fine, but are they winning? I mean, are you winning in the end? I don't think so. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I know, Scully to my Mulder.
Well,
do you disagree? Are you a skeptic?
I am a skeptic, because I'm not arguing you, but I'm saying they probably are looking at something that tells them this is the way to go.
No, I know.
As canted as it may be canted, or as it may be benefiting, a small set of people rather than the company, I don't know. But they're saying things to each other like, if we could just get XYZ more sales this way, then this whole big thing is just gonna avalanche into place or whatever. They have a reason. It's just not. It just may not be the reason that will work.
Yeah, and it's the reason they've been the drumbeat they've been marching to for 20 years. So
it's
I'm
like
hard to teach an old dog new tricks too.
Capitol Records and the music industry, when they tried to make music not happen unless it was on physical media, how'd that go for them?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. What was that? What was the thing you'd get in the mail where you could pay 1 cent and get 10 cassettes sent to you, and then you were subscribed monthly, and they would, what was it? Was something music something. Do you remember that in the 80s? That was a thing.
No. Nuh-uh.
Music club. Yeah. BMG and Columbia House Music Club, Columbia Music Club. Anyway. Dune. Ask me about Dune, Sema. Yeah, 12 CDs for a penny.
Hey, Max, how is Dune going?
It's going pretty good. I didn't play. I played on the plane over the Pacific Ocean. We were going to make this episode. My plan was to make this episode about all the ways to play games when you're traveling. And I didn't play that many video games. I brought my Steam Deck. I played that a little bit on the plane. I brought my PC laptop.
To hear that you traveled halfway across the world, and while you were there, you did not spend your time doing something you can do.
It was more like the 13 hours on a plane. You got to do something. But I tried to sleep a lot. But I did play a little bit on the plane. And yes, I did not play very much while we were out there, because we were on the go constantly, in a really good way. So yeah, you're absolutely right there. Don't sit around playing games while you're in someplace interesting. We rode the bullet train I did not play games on the bullet train. Again, I slept a little bit though. I did a lot of sleeping when I could because I was always sleeping like 5 hours
Were
a
there a
night.
lot of like assassins and explosions
Just around.
on the bullet train?
Uh, uh, yeah. Brad Pitt was there. What were the names of the two brothers? That is a great movie.
It is. It is.
Tangerine, I think, is the name of one of the brothers. That is a really good movie. I got to watch that movie again. It's a good movie.
That's a good idea.
2 hours. It's a 6-hour drive, and the bullet train makes it in 2 hours. It is really, really cool. And they leave every 7 minutes between Tokyo and Kyoto. It's like every 7 to 10 minutes. And they're leaving from every 7 to 10 minutes on the same track. It's like one will pull out and the next one will pull in. People will get off. The next people will get on. You know, you'd think it'd be like a big deal, like boarding an aircraft, but it's like a 3-minute turnaround. And then the plane is the thing's ready to go. Anyway, I didn't play a lot of video games there either, but the games I did play on the plane, even I was able to connect over the satellite Wi-Fi on the plane and play Dune. But only a tiny bit, just to mostly see if it would work. But it did work. It worked enough for me to like go and get, like mine some ore, which is what I've been doing a lot still lately in Dune. So we've been playing Dune, and the shine did wear off for me a little bit on Dune, which I expected it to. The honeymoon period was over, getting close to that end game, and bumping up against that deep desert where it's the PvP deep desert. And it's a giant area. It's this 9x9 grid where each of the 9 grid squares is almost like a quarter of the whole entire Haga Basin. It's a very big area. To like fly across the 9x9 grid would literally take you 20 minutes of flying in the fast ornithopters that you have. So it's a giant area, but that's all PvP area. So you're subject to PvP. I dipped my toes in it. I went out there a couple times and nobody fought me. I didn't get into any PvP, but just the fact that you can't just you have to be like on. If you're going to go into that area, you have to be like on, and you always have to be on a swivel, and you can't like be watching a YouTube video on the side, and you can't be chatting with friends on Discord, and you can't like just get up and like go grab a drink or something because you're going to get killed at a moment's notice.
I mean, yeah, that's what I've been seeing. I mean, because it's the same. I mean, it's a completely different experience, but like I'm relating to that because of my playing of hardcore.
Yeah, right.
Like I don't walk away from the screen without logging out.
And I'm okay with that kind of experience.
Yes, it is. It's different. Yeah.
When you're ready for it, and it's fine for it to be there, and it was fine for it to be a thing. However, with that being all of the end game and like not having a lot for PvE players to do, I was bumping up against that. And I was like, oh, maybe my time is kind of wrapping up.
So how many hours would you say you have in that game? Because I was thinking that you would happily have like 100 or 200 hours in it before you started to feel that you were bumping up against.
I probably have 100 hours in it now. So
yeah.
So yeah, I got my money's worth.
I thought it would be more. Yeah.
And there's still more for me to do. I haven't and I'm going back and doing some of that stuff because I don't have all of my stuff at the tier 5. Tier 6 is the PvP endgame materials. I don't have all the tier 5 stuff maxed out yet. I don't have one of the vehicle tiers that I want to make maxed out yet. I don't have all of my skill trees up to tier 3, which is the cap. So there's even like story stuff that I can still do. And now in the last couple of days since I had started to get back online, just had a little fun on the side here and there, going back and doing some of that. And I still have dozens of hours or tens of hours to do that kind of thing, even if I was never going to do the PvP Deep Desert. However, they've heard the feedback, and to the point that they've said, and they had a dev stream, and they have patch notes, and they have a PTS that's coming online. And within the next couple of weeks, there will be changes where they're going to take literally a third to half of the Deep Desert and make it PvE.
Interesting.
So that is not something they wanted to do up until a week ago in dev dev talks, they were saying that's not their vision. They've taken a step back and they said, we heard you. We know what people are looking for. We think we can do it this way. We're going to be able to experiment. We're going to be able to change the configuration too. So they're going to start with you enter in the south of that grid, that 9x9 grid. And the very south row was always PvE. There's not much there. It's just a place to set up maybe a staging base you could build for storage. They're going to take like the first 4 rows now and make it PvE. But because it wipes every week with the Coriolis storm, which is a really cool concept, they could maybe change that configuration, and maybe the PvE could like stretch up the sides, but have less, fewer squares in the middle. So they're going to be able to play with it and change it up as they go along, and change those levers as they progress. So the very best stuff, or the most abundance of stuff, will still be in the 8th and 9th row up at the top, at the farthest away. That's all PvP, to give PvPers something to go after and compete over, and guilds to compete over. But there was just too much that the vast majority of the player base was locked out of. And even some of the PvPers were locked out of things that they would want to do, their vision for the game. Like in the dev stream, when they showed that really cool, the end game dev stream, and they showed the ornithopter carrier bringing in the spice harvester and lowering the spice harvester on the sand, and all the rest of the crew dropping thumpers around to lure the worms away. I said during that, when we were talking about it, I said they should have let a couple PvP guilds on, and that whole thing would have been a cluster and would not have looked nearly as pretty as what they're showing now. Because the way that looks in reality, especially on any kind of busy server, is it's all just a bunch of scout ornithopters shooting rockets at each other. And somebody can try to get in there and drop and once in a while a guild can get in there and drop one of their sand crawlers, but hardly anybody can. And then it all devolves into scout ornithopters chasing each other around, shooting rockets. And that's it. Well, what about that cool scene where you had like that tank on the ground and the guy shooting rocket launcher? No, scout ornithopters shooting rockets. That's all it is. Well, what about the assault ornithopter? Isn't that nope. So that's the way that's the way it's been for the past couple of weeks. And that's what they said. Okay, no plan survives first contact with the player. We hear the feedback. We're going to change it. So they're starting with a couple of these, which sound like good changes. They're going to tune down, not really fundamentally change, but they're tuned down the way the scout ornithopter works. So it's not just 100% ornithopter shooting rockets. Change some of the glitchy stuff, fix some of the bugs, and add more PvE to the end game, which sounds great. So a couple weeks out, I may then be able to get back into it and have a whole new bit of end game opened up. So that's where I am on Dune, Sema, to answer your question, which I know.
So I have a question about your answer to my question.
Yes.
Are you sure? Because you spent, a week or a little over a week out of the country, and then you had a stomach flu to recover from. Are you sure what you're experiencing is not just after you've been away from any game for a while, when you get back into it, you're kind of like, I don't remember why this was compelling to me, but then it slowly builds back up again?
It could be a little bit of that. And in fact, it definitely is a little bit of that. When I first got back from Japan, and then after being sick, I kind of didn't care at all. I didn't really want to, but I kind of didn't want to play anything.
Yeah, I know. Right. After, you kind of think, why was I a gamer in the first place?
Yes. You do go through that. Maybe I should just move to Japan and live in the countryside and
contemplate,
become a samurai, live the way of the samurai. Yeah.
Live the one monitor life.
No, let's not be crazy, Sema. But yeah, a little bit of that. But also a little bit of what I expected too is there's going to be other things. There's the, I thought I made a note of it. What was the new cool game? That's another survival game. The Altars. So the Altars is out on Game Pass, which is a survival game where your clones, you get like multiverse clones with different personalities, and that they become part of your like little survival colony that you're building. And some of them like don't like you, and they fight against you, and they have their own stories.
Like the Bobs.
I thought maybe I would be like going in by at some point, and this will happen eventually. Could be kind of done with Dune for the most part and go off and do other things. There's a new map out for Ark. I thought maybe I would be dropping Dune or like putting Dune on standby for a little bit to go play Ragnarok in Ark.
I see that.
But I've been back in Dune. So last night, I was kind of back in, for all in my game time that I have in the evenings and a tiny bit in the morning, and has been Dune, and SWTOR, because I did do quite a bit of SWTOR when I came out of my malaise from both jet lag and being sick. I did SWTOR more than anything else just to put up some points on the board, because good job AIE winning another Total Galactic War.
Yeah, but that kind of doesn't count because there's really no decision there. You had goals to meet.
And yeah, and not in a bad way, but like a fun obligation that I've committed myself to. And we've all committed ourselves to in a fun way.
Right. But if you said to yourself, why am I playing Star Wars: The Old Republic? You would go, I'll think about that later because I'm going to do this now,
Right. And the only reason I'm playing Star Wars: The Old Republic is because of our crew, our team.
Our crew.
And that brings me back there. Not that we don't have a good team in Dune, but we haven't gotten to the point yet where the team really does much in Dune. But we have like 8 people that are playing Dune, and we should start some of that up because that might make it fun too. Anyway, so yeah, that's about where it is. I do want to play it like tonight. I kind of want to get back in there. I have a couple plans, a couple progression things I want to do, a couple bases I want to build. It's like, because you can build these like small bases that are in a staging area to go like mine a bunch of special resources. So I'm going to do that, and I am going to dip back into the deep desert. Just on the side, like in the mornings when the kids aren't playing, and go get some of those tier 6 resources and maybe just build a couple of the tier 6 tools and things like that. So I'll be playing more Dune. What I won't be playing, though, Sema, is Marathon. Just bringing this up because we talked about Marathon quite a bit a couple of weeks ago when they had their kerfuffle over copyrighted content that they had accidentally gotten into their game, along with and on top of a bunch of player feedback that was like, I don't know, you guys, this seems like, fun, like an okay game, and for you to be like trying to make it the next big Bungie thing as the looter shooter, the extraction shooter, it's not there yet. So they've now, through all of that, through the bad press that they had and that player feedback, said, fine, it's delayed. They've committed to releasing it. They won't commit to a release date, even though right now, but they said by this fall, we will have a new release date. We would expect a 2026 release, though, from what I'm feeling like. But they're going to work hard to retool. Still a cool concept, and it could have it could recover and could become a thing, but they don't want it to be another Concord, is what Sony's really worried about. And Bungie obviously doesn't want to be Concorded either. So we'll see. We'll be following this over the course of the next year and see if they can pull it out, because don't want it to be another. Don't like to see those failures. It's not good for the games industry. It's not good for us as players. And then the last note I had was Expedition 33 has patch notes, and Forster in the chat room pointed out that the parry and dodge windows have been increased by 40% in story mode balancing. What was my number one complaint, Sema?
Yeah, that you felt like a loser.
A loser because the parry and dodge windows were so tight, and I failed every single one because I didn't bother to, I didn't give it the time to even like try and practice and try to get good, which I could have.
Because that isn't what you wanted to do.
Because that's not when I want to invest my time and, my Twitch reflexes for this one game. So it made me feel bad. Even though I would win every fight, it wasn't about getting through the fights or getting through story mode. It was about losing every parry window and feeling like an idiot.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe I could go back.
Feeling like an idiot. It's not fun.
No, it's not. The other thing I thought, though, still is, and I've gotten close a couple times, is I really do want to see the cinematics. I want to see the story. And we could do that just by watching it all on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that medieval game that was out this year that was really popular? Chat room, what was the medieval game? We had to like swing the sword in the directions and block in the cardinal directions. Anyway, so somebody's gonna give us that name here in just a second. But that game has done a thing where they're editing all of their cinematics together into Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Thank you.
Oh, good one. Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks, Tyler. So Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is editing all of their cinematics together into a cinematic release that they're going to show in a limited run in theaters. So you'll be able to like go to friends to an actual movie theater and watch the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 cinematic story. That seems interesting to me.
I hope it works. I hope that you can get the story from it.
I think, if they edit it and cut it together, well, they probably can, because maybe they could even cut a little bit of like, quest turn-in dialogue or, just world dialogue in an interesting way. But if that's a thing, then yeah, it really seems like Expedition 33 could be its own cinematic release. And it also makes me think, what if, I've got, I'm a storyteller. I'm not, but say I'm a storyteller game maker, so we're making this RPG, but it's a story first RPG. What if I made it almost like screenplay ready to start and like at the core of the game?
Right.
And then wrapped the game in and out and wove it through and made it really interesting for the player as well. But then was able to like almost co-release into like a movie release. And maybe it's only like to streaming or web or put it on Netflix and as a video game and do it in both places. That would be a cool way to do it, wouldn't it?
I mean, the line is definitely already very blurred between pure movie and pure game.
Yeah.
Why not, lean into it?
Absolutely. I think that would, do it. Somebody do it out. Somebody do it. I'm not going to do it because again, I'm not a screenplay writer. I'm not that kind of storyteller. Every once in a while, I kind of think, well, maybe I can be. I could tell a story, but that's not where my strengths lie. If you really want to contribute, double down on your strengths. Don't take like one of your weak areas. Don't only focus on it's okay to like focus on weaknesses from time to time and shore up your weaknesses, but doubling down on strengths will get you further in the world than shoring up every weakness.
Yeah.
So I know where my strengths lie, and it's not in the pure art. I can get by. I can scribble. Anyway. Coming soon. This is coming soon.
I guess what I'm saying though is that those stories are so complex and it happens a lot over time. And what you as a player bring to any given cutscene is a wealth of already knowing what came before. So I just, and coming right off of doing a story thing in WoW this afternoon where they did kind of a similar thing where they stitched a bunch of stuff together to tell a story over multiple X-packs of the game.
Yeah.
And while it was good, and I did get kind of an overview. It also raised as many questions for me as it answered, really, about the lore.
Right. And if you haven't, I don't know how they would, you're right, especially with something like WoW, how you would, like the opening crawl would have to be like 20 minutes long. Well, back in the beginning, then the gate opened to Outland, and then the thing happened, and then, yeah. So how do you previously on to start for any expansion? That would be really hard. A new thing
I
like
think,
Expedition 33 maybe, but then when you get to Expedition 33
but
2,
Kingdom
32.
Come Deliverance 2 is already a 2. I know there's
Yeah.
like a complicated story with the first one, and I don't know how much the second one refers back to the first one, if at all. But yeah, it's like when, for me anyway, when the Marvel Cinematic Universe decided to put together a story, they didn't go back and stitch together all the comic books.
Right.
They made their own story with the characters and references and stuff, but you couldn't go back and stitch together all the comic books because they just go in so many different directions.
Yeah. Yeah, and they had to be very mindful and careful because DC tried to do it too fast and too sloppily, and it didn't work, and nobody got it.
They had to be willing to do it over
a decade.
And many movies.
Yeah. DC tried to do it in like 3 movies, and Justice League failed as a result. Anyway, coming soon, Shadow Labyrinth. Because we loved the short in Secret Level series, Shadow Labyrinth is the Pac-Man Cinematic Universe game that is coming out on July 18th, day 1 on Game Pass. So we may be trying this. I was just really...
First of all, I did not love it, and I don't want to play this game either.
Oh, well, it is true. It is a little gruesome and dark, but I did like it.
Yeah, I know.
Because I keep talking about it.
Yeah,
There's strength in repetition. There's strength
and I
in repetition.
admired the work that went into it, but I thought the idea was over-simple, and the thing was way too long for the little ending.
There's only like 5 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, it as opposed to like the New World one, which had the little arc with Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, which is a little more endearing and had a little bit more of a story and an arc and that kind of thing. This really didn't have much of anything going on with it for it.
Which for a reason, because the point they were making was about repetition. It wasn't about growth necessarily, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I just a little bit fascinated about it from the art perspective and just from the history of gaming perspective. For it to be like a Pac-Man thing is kind of a cool idea. Oops.
But I mean, at the same time, when I first saw the movie Alien, I was like, why don't they just space it?
Because then the movie wouldn't happen, Sema.
Right. So then I didn't enjoy the whole rest of the movie because I felt like this whole movie was leading up to a point that I already thought it should have been at,
Yeah.
But now, rewatching Alien, I go, okay, that was a really oversimplified way for me to look at it back in the day. So there's a lot going on in that movie that is fine.
Yes. Yeah. Because you can also just enjoy being in the moment too and having a scary monster that you're going after. Grounded 2 coming out on July 29th. This one I may drag you into, which I think you would play anyway. This one I'm looking forward to because Grounded is just such a nice little game, nice little series. We can play with the arachnophobia mode and give them only 4 legs instead of 2, and or maybe just turn them into gumdrops. We'll see how it goes. Lots of spider stuff even in the trailer though. You can see, but we're gonna get little ants to ride
Well, I want a little canteen if I'm going to play it that I can fill with water.
You do get that pretty quickly in the game because you don't have to be sucking dewdrops off the leaves constantly.
Yeah,
every
but
2
and
minutes.
now not only that, you had to shoot them down. It was
If they were up high, yeah, did. Or chop down the leaf so it would fall on the ground. But that is coming out on the 29th. And then how about Tales of the Shire? Is that going to be coming out on Game Pass? I don't know if it is. But Tales of the Shire is cute little survival story game set in the Shire. It's almost like not a multiplayer Palia, but almost like a Palia, but hobbits is what it looks like to me. I know some people are going to be playing that. And
It's
we'll have
not
see
going
how
to
it
be a
goes.
Game Pass day. I mean, I don't think it's going to be on Game Pass.
I'll still probably play it. I don't know.
It'll be on PC, yeah.
It looks mildly interesting to me because it's a survival crafting game, but
Yeah.
I'm not overly enamored with the super cute hobbity world that they've created.
I do like super cute, but this particular style doesn't do anything
That's
for
the
me.
thing. It's a style thing because you're right. Because there is some cute stuff that I like, but the Hobbit cute is like in a weird, creepy cute. It's like an uncanny. It's like an uncanny valley of cute.
Yeah.
It's like they're cute, but then they have like these hairy feet and their faces are a little weird. And it's the kind of Hobbit from like the 80s animated Hobbit movie, not like the cool Hobbits from, Thorin Oakenshield from the Hobbit movie where he's like a movie star. It's the weird creepy hobbits from the Hobbit movie. So yeah, I don't know. I guess you're right there. And then finally, just because we've been watching it closely, on the 24th will be Wildgate, which is a team-based shooter in space. So Overwatch in space a little bit. Sea of Thieves in space kind of thing. So that should be interesting too.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what people think of it.
All right. There's Jeff Keighley talking about it. Thanks, Jeff. My name is Jeff. Is it weird that because my name is Jeff, anytime like somebody asks me my name, in my head, I go, my name is Jeff, which is a reference to, do you know what that reference is? That's from 21 Jump Street 2 with Channing Tatum and what's his name? And anyway, go look at that meme. So it's a meme. I don't know why that's a meme. It's a really dumb thing too. My name is Jeff. He's supposed to be like undercover as a Latino, and he's supposed to be like, hey, I'm Jefe, but he's really bad. Channing Tatum is really bad at it. Yeah, Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. So Jonah Hill's doing like, hey, and this is my friend. And he goes, my name is Jeff. He's like, no, his name is Jefe. So that's what I do all the time. I say my name is Jeff. People ask me in real life because my name is Jeff. So that's what you get. Anyway, this podcast is brought to you by Garden to Goat, the upcoming game from Contemplation Games. We are deep into the development of our second garden. Join our Discord. We showed off a couple things in there. We showed off the first pest that hit the social feeds. That's the boar. He's the pest for the oak garden. And as I expected, some people were like hearting and liking, oh, look at the boar. And I had to remind them, no, that no, not like that. Don't like it. You're supposed to want to shoo it out of the garden. It's a pest. But,
Come here, little boar.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to end up happening too. We're going to have to do something about that. He doesn't hurt things very much. He makes your garden slightly less efficient and makes your plants wilt a little bit, but nothing dies. So you could just like leave them in there, leave them around, I guess. We're going to have to like have an achievement for somebody like keeping a boar in the garden for like an entire day. And letting it wander around. Game is also brought to you by Alea Act Est, our gaming community, aie-guild.org. who did a great job on Star Wars: The Old Republic this past week by winning sort of the guild versus guild challenge that we set for ourselves against a whole bunch of other like really good guilds that were going after the same planet that we were. There were lots of plans to go after, but everybody who was
An
going
exciting
after
one, because there were
Dantooine.
times when we were 4 or even close to 5 million points ahead, and then some time would go by and we'd be like under 1 million
Yeah.
ahead, or under 500,000 ahead. And oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was quite exciting. And I was sad because I was sort of down for the count for a lot of it, being both on vacation and then sick and offline. I stuck a few, I got, close to 1 million points by the end, on the last day, dropped some PvP matches, which got a whole bunch, but, some GSF matches. But yeah, everybody else really pulled it out all week and did a great job. A lot of teamwork. It wasn't solo efforts. It was a bunch of teamwork and people in Discord every night going after that. So that was fun. So check it out if you want to come join us in there, or any of the games that we played, like Dune or Ark. Bunch of stuff going on in those now too. Or WoW, which we're about to talk about. Also brought to you by all of you out there that are watching and listening. Really appreciate it. We had another, just like every week lately we've been getting a really nice comment. So this was on one of our videos back from the Clara Obscure Expedition 33 video. So this is a number of videos back, but a really nice comment that said that, they like us very much. And this is where the Mulder and Scully thing came from. So we really appreciate that. That kind of thing is what has kept us going for 10 years. So thanks to everybody out there for following, listening, joining the chat room, dropping a comment like this here and there. That's the only reason we do this. And because we amuse ourselves. So we say that if it was just Sema and I and zero audience, we would still probably do this because we amuse ourselves. But we appreciate that. So thank you. I probably should have gotten something ready. Here we go, Sema.
You are not prepared.
Are you prepared for the end of the world of Warcraft, War Within?
I am never ever prepared for the end of a season. The biggest thing is we still have to get our last boss kill in. So we're working on that.
So there's three things I wanted to ask you about. So let's go through them. The three things I want to ask you about was, and so this came up, and I did get distracted by this when I was prepping for the show in over the course of the last few days. And I thought it was a good time to clue in on this, because there's also a couple announcements around WoW, and it being almost to the announcement of midnight, and we'll get to that by the end. So I wanted to ask you about current. And then I want to ask you about 11.2, and we'll talk about that because that's like the next expansion and probably like the last big content drop before midnight. We think. No, I don't know for sure about that.
No, I think it will be. Yeah.
And then we'll talk about just the announcement for midnight. But yeah, so current. I left off. I played Undermine. I didn't do any of the raids, but then there was. So you talked about it in terms of seasons. So the last raid of pre 11.2 content, the last raid of like the Undermined batch of stuff, that's all out. You guys have been plowing through that. You still have another boss to kill.
So when I say that, I mean
feeling?
on heroic.
Yeah,
like we've
ahead of the curve.
So we're at the point on that boss where we're going there each week and practicing on the phases. Like we're not to the point of like, this pull might be it.
Okay.
We're getting through the first phase. We got through the first phase several times last week, which was a relief to me because I got personal note from a raid leader saying that first phase is a healer check. So, heal a lot.
All right. Pinterest, X button. There we go.
The true story about what happened to my second monitor. But yeah, that's going pretty well, but we still need to make some progress. Other AIE teams have made their AOTC at this point, but we are still working on it. And it's summer, so we have attendance issues as we should. It's summer, people out doing good things. That's why I would kind of like for 11.2 to come later than August, because August is still in summer.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
But so yes, we're in season 2 right now, and the raid for season 2 is the Undermine raid, which is the dwarven thing, and the season 2
Goblin?
new zone.
Dwarven or
it's Goblin. It's Goblin. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, thank you. And the Undermine city, which has all its like factions that you earn rep with, and daily quests and different things you can get, and chests that you can find, and toys and pets that you can build out of trash that you find there, is still ongoing. But as of the last content drop, and it'll be beefed up more by this content drop, we also are following events of this group called the Arathor, which is meant to be a group of humans that are separate from the humans that we know of from Stormwind, that long ago, made their own trek, and they're coming now. Now we're meeting them again in the War Within, which I don't mean now we're meeting them. We met them at the beginning of the War Within, but now we're hearing more and more of their story.
Legacy of Arathor. Okay, now I'm good with this. Okay.
Yeah. So that this patch that we're in right now brings another sort of section of their story. Yeah, she's an Arathor, Farron. And they are here because their ship crashed here, and then they've just built this civilization up here since the ship crashed. So we're learning more about them, why they got here. I personally have not played through this storyline. The last one I did briefly, but I haven't done the current one, just because there's so much going on. So that's one part of it, of the current patch. Also, there is they released this lore walking thing, which is what I'm referring to when we were talking about stitching together stories, where Lo Walker Cho, who's a character from Mists of Pandaria expansion.
Yep. The main
you
panda
get the
guy with the hat.
Yeah. You go and talk to him, and he presents you with 3 choices. You can follow the overarching story of Zalatash, who's the bad guy in The War Within, or Arthas, who is the bad guy in Wrath, or the story of the Ethereals and Dementius. And I played through the Alatath one and the Ethereal one so far, and I have yet to do the Wrath one. I feel like I know the Wrath one, but I might be surprised. Oh my gosh, my phone just started talking to me like I had asked it a question. It was very off-putting. So that was interesting, because one of the things that this story taught that I learned with Lo Walker Cho, they addressed at the very end. They did it in this weird order. Like first, you kind of go back in time and play through some quests that you already did when they were current, but they kind of stitched it together like a story. And then at the very end, they said, yeah, all that, but where did Zalatath really come from? I mean, why was she already imprisoned in that dagger that we, found during Legion? And so they told the story of 3 old gods that banded together and trapped her in the dagger. And at the end, they're like saying, now you're imprisoned forever. And she goes, ha, 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 ha. Don't you get it? This is just the beginning for me. And her final, and her thing was in the battle, that she was imprisoned in this dagger, and whoever wielded the dagger, which became in Legion, it became like the priest artifact, is it would talk to you.
Yeah. And it always has.
Yeah, right. And so her final words in this like story of the old gods banishing her were to one particular of the old gods, N'Zoth. I always say N'Zoth, but it's N'Zoth. And she says to him, I just want you to think about this. If your siblings were out of the way, how much more powerful would you be?
Uh, she's like a
And
Loki,
so,
isn't she?
yes, I guess that's a good,
Do you
yeah.
say NVIDIA or do you say NVIDIA?
I know. I say NVIDIA.
So
Um,
ends off, and then it's consistent.
yeah,
You can do that.
I say in sync.
And sync. I say NSYNC myself. I say NVIDIA and NSYNC.
Well, I go through this every time we do like these scenarios. I'm kind of interested in the story, but I feel like the combat part of it that you have to do, or the puzzle part of it, or whatever the part is that I personally have to do, is just something that I have to sort of like wade through.
Yeah.
And when I went and did the ethereal one, I had to do almost this whole quest line in Netherstorm, and I'm like, guys, I just did this
Yeah.
like a
Right.
year or two ago. I don't need to do this part right now. But I will say, the combat is trivial. So it is a story mode type of thing.
Okay.
I don't have to be like a good player or have lots of gear or anything like that. You just
Yeah. Yeah.
run around killing things. But like especially the one when I was going into the bowels of some place and there was like old god things everywhere. I'm like, I didn't know where to go, and then that got me aggravated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I finally found that. And actually, when I got on track, I could see where they were going with it. And I missed the first step of something. And so when I went back and did it, it was pretty good. But it was interesting to see those stories. So that was one thing from this patch.
So the goblin stuff is going to be done.
Yeah.
And you're going to because 11.2, when that comes out, and we'll talk about when it's going to come out, probably a couple months, but it's going to be out of Undermined. So your speculation is they're going to leave the cars behind. Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to do? Have you been doing car missions on the side and getting your deliveries done and that kind of thing all the way along the way, or was that just a fun thing to do at the start or a little diversion?
I've been dabbling in it from time to time. It's more of a gotta get them all type of thing now. Like if you want to get all the factions to max, and if you want to get all the toys and transmog and everything, you would go in there every day and do your car chores.
Okay. But then they'll kind of be done.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, they don't need to
we might have other settings that we might have other settings that it's a car, but the next one, the 11.2, won't be one because they've already said that we'll be able to fly.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. And I think them putting that kind of work into a system that only operates for Undermined and that amount of content, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a permanent feature added to the game forever.
And I like it because one of the sort of side effects of it is you can kind of run around through town and you don't really aggro the mobs. There's a ton of mobs in this town. And if you go on a regular mount, you have to be either sidestepping them or outrunning them or stopping and fighting them. But if you're in a car, they pretty much ignore you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
I mean, not 100%, but yeah. The other thing one of the big things that came out with this release too is the combat assistant and single button assistant tools.
Oh, yeah. How's that going?
And the combat assistant is, I think it's interesting because it's a way of making the game easier.
Right. The
combat part of the game easier, so anyway, so what the combat assistant is it knows what the next ability is you should use based on what you just used. So it will light up the abilities on your bar so that you know what the right things are. And it teaches you where the synchrony is in your abilities. Like after you do this one, you should do this one, or before this one, you should do that one.
A little bit of a rotation for people that don't really know about rotations. It can teach you at least a rotation. I'm sure there are purists, and you tell me. I mean, are there still
So
lead
there
experts that are
there
saying
have
it's terrible. Don't do it.
there has been an add-on for years that did this for you called Hakeli, and yeah, it's like so that part has been available. The next part though, the one button thing, no add-on could do. And this is
Right.
where you personally, physically, you're only hitting one button, and the game is going to use the ability that, for instance, the combat assistant would have chosen for you to hit. So you just hit the same button over and over again, and it does the right abilities.
Yeah. So
What I
you,
found for me in
yeah.
my balanced druid, I found it a little bit hard to get used to because I still had to know what it was casting because I have a very important channeled ability.
Ah.
And if I just sat there spamming my button, it would cut the channeled ability as soon as I hit the button.
Because
So I had to watch anyway. And I had to watch anyway because everything I cast has a different cast time. So I kind of had to know if I was going to be able to take a step or if I was going to be casting something. But it has, and I will say too, there's also a cost to doing it this way, which is you get an increase to the global cooldown. The global cooldown is a little space of time between everything that you hit, so you ultimately hit fewer abilities than you would over time if you were a perfect player. But I'm okay with that as a concept because this isn't meant to be how you become a world first rater. It's just how you play a game with what you think might or might not be fun for you.
Yeah.
It also means that if you decide you want to get an old owl, you made an alt back in Legion, then you haven't played since then, and now you want to go out and do some world quests, you can use this button to like wander around and do things.
That seems great. That seems really nice.
Yeah.
And the learning part. It really, I have trouble thinking it would in any way be optimal for actual content when you need to like group content or like dungeons or raids, because you need to there's things that you can't cast while moving. There's things you can cast while moving. And so much of it is like figuring out what you can cast while moving and what you can't cast and not interrupting channels
And it doesn't do your defensive cooldowns. It doesn't stand in the right place for you. It doesn't do your trinkets if you have unused trinkets. So it's not a substitute for paying attention.
Well, what good is it?
So let's see. We got the Arathi Highlands campaign, the combat assistant. Oh, they also did this thing where if you want to catch up on the lore of the Arathor, they released an audio novella in 7 parts. I think each part is about 20 minutes, written by an author and narrated by Chris Metzen. And
Christy
they released
Golden?
also. No, it wasn't Christy Golden.
Oh.
I
know she's.
It was someone that I hadn't heard of before. And they released a short story about Farron Lothar, which is that one of the characters we met in the time with one of the Arathor characters we met in the time with. So I think those are interesting lore pieces. I mean, people are split on whether that's good or bad, right? Like some people feel like it's very, very bad. You should not have to rely on outside the game lore to understand what's going on in the right. But for other people, you don't need to do this. You can understand the lore, but this just gives you a deeper understanding.
Yeah,
And it's something fun to do.
Diversion. Yeah.
So all this is. Oh, go ahead.
All of this is trending towards 11.2, and you're going to a new place. It's a new race. There's new big bad boss. Is that part of your current content though? Are the ethereals showing up? Is Dementia? I don't know. Is this a spoiler? Is even talking about Demencius a spoiler?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, it's advertised, but no, there's no extra ethereals showing up right now.
So is this going to be a relatively abrupt transition of like, well, now, oh, look, here's an ethereal, and now just gonna leave Undermined, and you okay?
I don't know. I mean, like the raid that we're doing now, is that if I missed it, if there's a thing at the end that comes and it says, "Haha, all these goblins were under my control and I'm Dementius," or something like that. So I don't
Interesting.
know. Yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, it's just like how before we came to Undermine, there wasn't like a bunch of
No, it was
new
a bunch of
goblins
it was
running.
spider, spider, and then oops, now we're in Goblin Land. True.
I mean, right. I mean, spiders were in their own zone, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You went through, yeah, you left the spider zone and you went to the Goblin Land. And then it was like complete. Now you're going to like leave the Goblin Land. And what about the spiders? Are they still doing any? They still...
Well, I think this Airthor campaign is going to lead to this, right?
Okay.
Because the Airthor campaign, they are fighting the spiders. The Airthor
Yeah.
are.
Right. Right.
So I'm guessing this story is going to lead to something, and then there'll be like the pre-patch.
The
No,
connective
I don't know if
tissue.
there'll be yes, I'm sure there'll be some connective tissue.
Yeah. Well, we
That's
know
kind of a gross
Zalatath
way of
still
saying
will
it, but
connect as well. And there's some spoilers coming out. Well, I guess let's not get into the spoilers. But I don't care because I'm not invested in the story. But there's like Dementius versus Zalatath and like stuff to chat about that like the data miners are like going crazy about. So if you want to get into like spoilery drama, check that out. But has any of the pre 11.2 stuff, is like Zalatath been around much? Is she in Undermined the raids at all? Does she show up and go, haha, now I have one shoe and soon I will have two?
No.
The goblins should have been making her shoes. It should have been like a shoemaker, it should have been like a elves making shoes kind of story along the way. That cracks me up about the shoes thing. All right. So that's interesting.
To be clear, she is involved in the storyline. Like Gallywix is doing stuff for her.
Yeah. Did that
there
ever
is
come out exactly of like why she's making him mine the black blood
well,
or whatever?
it comes out at the end that he's after this like relic, the Dark Heart, and he gets it, and he passes it on to this ethereal who he thinks is her servant. And then she comes to collect it, and she goes, "Where's my Dark Heart?" And he goes, "Oh, I gave it to your guy." And she goes, "That was not my guy."
And did she smite him, or did he like get away with that?
He did not get away with that. I think we smite them. No, actually, maybe she does smite.
I mean, he's going the right way for a smiting. Somebody should smite him because he is not he was set up from the very beginning as being a really bad goblin.
He's a bad guy.
So hopefully he gets his smiting real good. Okay. So then we'll get 11.2, and 11.2 is 5 minutes till midnight. But it'll be a whole zone, and it'll be a whole bunch of raid and progress. And so how long was Undermined? Is that 9 months? 6 months?
No, I think it's like 6-ish months. And the reason people think that 11.2 is coming in August is because we have an event going on right now called Turbulent Timeways, which is 6 weeks of time walking, where there's a time walking every week. And traditionally, the next season comes at the end of Turbulent Timeways.
Okay. The other thing that's happening in August, which this is leading towards, is the announcement of the announcement. There's no BlizzCon this year. Blizzard did announce that they will be at Gamescom in Europe in August. And they also said specifically, in fact, they put up a post on their main page that said, hey, we're going to be at Gamescom and we're going to announce and talk about Midnight. So Midnight is going to sort of like get announced and unveiled on August 20th, or that week of the August 20th to 24th at Gamescom by Blizzard, which would then also be around that August timeframe. So if 11.2 releases around then, and then they've got like the big Gamescom as sort of like the event that they can tie their marketing to, and then Midnight gets announced, that would then put Midnight around the end of year, potentially end of the calendar year.
I mean, I'm thinking more like spring 2026.
That would make more sense, but then you're going to have like 9 months of of 11.2?
Well, at least 11, at least 6 months, right? So August to like January, February would be
Yeah.
August, September, October. Yeah.
Lucy says too soon, Executus. Too soon.
Right.
Well,
It is a kind of overload. I mean, I appreciate what they're trying to do is tightening up and not having they're trying to avoid having the long drought at the end of an
yeah.
X pack. But I mean,
But remember, and Lucy's alluding to it, they have things to do in the droughts, and some people want to do those drought things, like Legion
yeah,
Remix. Yeah, that makes
right,
sense.
right. Like, how am I even going to have time for Legion Remix? I don't know.
Right. That's gonna be crazy. Plus your hardcore life. How many Semas are you up to now?
Okay,
Okay.
my current SEMA is level 44 right now.
Ooh. Knock on wood pressed product,
Yeah,
as we've been saying multiple times tonight.
and it is a lot easier to survive once you get past the turbulent teens because you just have more tools.
Yes.
And I don't know,
You're
maybe more
frost. You're good
wisdom.
like frost mage, so you
Frost,
get like
yeah, frost.
ice block now, and
And like I was wanting to play, one time, and I went out and I was in Stranglethorn Vale, and I'm like level 44, so I think, this is gonna be my bitch, right? Because the whole thing about Stranglethorn
Sema
Vale
says
is
that all the time.
that you're going to go there.
Somebody
You're always
clip
going there.
that.
You're too low level, right? But you're gonna get away with it. Now I'm like, I feel like I'm too high level, so it should be a breeze. And I turned the corner into this camp of pirates, Bloodsail pirates, and then these two like level 45 mages started lobbing fireballs at me, and I, instead of turning immediately and running, I said, okay, I'm going to kill these, and then I said, okay, no, I'm turning and running. They literally with two fireballs took like 75% of my health,
Yeah.
and I put up my fire ward and another bubble, and I ran and I drank a healing pot, and I got away from them. But I made a mistake because I looked at my bars and my fire ward was not on cooldown, so I went for it, but I missed it.
Oh. Yeah.
And so I go, okay, I was lucky that I survived that dumb encounter right there. So here's what I've learned though. I went to town and I logged out. I said, like, I'm tired or something. I messed that
Yeah.
up. I didn't hit my right defensive. I'm just not, this is not the time for me to play. And I did the same thing today. I decided I was going to do this quest where you go on the pirate ships and they're loaded with pirates, but you have to go into the basement of the ship and kill the main guy
Yeah.
on 3 different ships. And I was starting to go up the ramp to the ship, and I noticed that the warlocks were taking like 40% of my health with one cast, and I'm like, nope, I'm going to come back when I'm 50
Yeah. Yeah.
and do these. There's nothing that says I have to do these right now.
Right. Right. Yeah. No,
I'm gonna do them later.
that's a good move. You
But
do
I feel like
because you have to break yourself. You have to break yourself
yeah,
of your previous habits where
right.
death had very little cost.
Right, and it's especially hard for me in this vanilla setting because my first character, my OG character, was a rogue, and I could just kind of like wander around anywhere. Well, then I
Rogues
would make
never
mistakes.
die. They just fade away.
Right. Right. And so there's so many lessons to be learned. And I'm not sure they're good life lessons either because the lessons are all be afraid, don't do that. So I think in life it should be more go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fortune favors the fearful. I think that's how that
Yeah.
goes.
Right. Right. But in a way, the hardcore game is like a relief for me, right? Because I go into retail WoW and then I have to kind of decide what I'm going to do because I need to catch up on this to get my gear in order. I need to catch up on that to get my gear in order. I need to catch up on this thing because I want to get this particular mount and there's a lot of pieces to going for it and blah 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 blah. Or I could just go in hardcore and just kill a few things
Yep.
for a bit, you know.
But not casually. It's
Well,
hardcore.
carefully. Well, I could make it casual by going a little bit lower level,
Oh,
so.
sure. Just grind boars in Elwyn Forest
Or
until you get to level 60.
yeah. I mean, Or you could play solitaire. It's all a game, right? So,
Yes, it is all a game.
but it's a lot, and I wish that it was not August when we get 11.2, but we probably will.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So Eflux says, would the second monitor have solved it? Probably not. The second monitor is going to make hardcore harder. But
Well, I mean, yeah, yes and no, because now, like, if I need to look up something, like I thought I
you
could
can't
play.
alt tab.
Yeah. I mean, when I alt tab, it's a real alt tab. Like then the game window's gone.
Yeah, that's bad.
So literally, yeah, I have to go somewhere.
You have to
and
like go to town before you can alt tab.
Right. Luckily, I'm a mage though, and as long as I have runes, I can teleport to Stormwind or Darnassus or whatever. But yeah.
That's
But
why
then
my
you have to
first couple
fly all the way
characters.
back.
I had little kids at the time. My first baby, about the time of the launch of World of Warcraft, and my first couple characters were elves. What are they?
Night elves.
Night
So
elves.
you could shadow meld.
Yeah, because I could shadow meld. I could like stand in a corner and shadow meld because I needed to be able to like log off it, or I needed to just be able to walk away from the keyboard at a moment's notice.
Yeah. Right.
And shadow
So
meld was critical for that.
So there's some interesting speculation about 11.2 that there's going to be a shadow meld potion.
Oh, really? And you
And what
stay
that's
invisible
supposed
until you move?
Well, shadow meld works a little bit
Yeah.
differently than those days. But what it's meant to address is there are some encounters, especially in Mythic Plus, where people feel like it's just not worth bringing anything but a night elf.
Because of
shadow
shadow
meld is so valuable. Yeah, so that's supposed to. I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
And there also is some speculation and rumors about a sort of Mythic Plus branding, scarlet letter kind of a thing that they're going to do, where if you leave a Mythic Plus, you'll get like a little icon by your name, so that when you try and queue for other groups, are going to be like, oh, but you just deserted this other. You're a person who leaves after a fight, so after the first wipe or whatever.
Yeah.
And so
good.
now they're gonna have to group with other branded people.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I'm sure that'll like wear off after some amount of time.
Well, they were talking about possibly you could earn it off by completing Mythic Pluses.
Oh, there you go. Because you could you get a disconnect. Well, or whatever, your internet goes out, your power goes out, and you're gonna feel bad.
I think hand in hand with this is that it's going to be harder to get the actual deserter buff, which actually see Mythic Plus isn't in the queue. It's just created by people.
Yeah.
So the deserter buff really only affects the queue.
Right.
But yes,
okay. That makes sense.
But you're right. With the people who get left don't know if someone, unless they burn their bridges as they go, like, you guys wipe, you suck, I'm quitting.
Yeah. Yeah. The idiot that stood in all of the fire and did half the damage of the lowest DPS, saying, "You guys suck." No. No.
Yes.
Worst tank ever. What? Okay.
I guess if you do disconnect, it would just be your bad luck if you disconnected after a wipe, right? And you get branded. But because I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah.
That won't affect me because I don't really do Mythic Plus.
Yes. So, okay.
And the reason I don't is because I don't have to. Like, there's other ways of getting similar gear, which I am very grateful for, because I never really enjoyed Mythic Plus.
Right. Which is nice to have multiple paths.
Yeah.
So just to close us out, are you going to get another monitor? You got to get another monitor. You'll get another monitor. I've got 4 in front of me right now, and that's just the ones down here. I've got 3 more upstairs on my main gaming rig. I could not operate with less than 3. But
yeah, it's kind of inexplicable to me why I'm dragging my feet. Because the first thing I did was like, oh, I'm going to buy a monitor. Let me log into Amazon right now. I'll just get the same one I got last time. And that one's discontinued or not available or whatever. And I'm like, well, I'll get whatever took over. And then I'm like, well,
Okay, well, we're gonna have to keep up and check in on this adventure. If you have monitor recommendations for Sema, please send them along. I think I just heard there's a new HDMI standard coming out that's going to be able to do 16K over USB-C cables. So it's going to be, I think it's even going to have a new letters instead of HDMI. It's going to be like GDMI or something. So you can get yourself a 16K monitor. It's only going to be about $30,000.
and it'll be over USB, right? Wouldn't even
USB-C, yeah. You don't have to worry about those HDMI cables anymore.
wouldn't even have to use my video
Everything
card.
will be USB in the future, USB-C. But I think, so we went a little bit long today, but we had some stuff to catch up on, and we making up for last week being out. Everybody, we had a good number of people in the chat room. They remembered. Remember New Overlords? We were going to get back on. There's going to be nobody. Remember New Overlords? Did they quit podcasting? Or was it only gone one day? All right. So thank you for sticking around. All the feed and subscribe links for us are on newoverlords.com, and the video is up on YouTube/newoverlords when it goes up. Please come chat with us in our Discord at newoverlords.com/Discord. You can also follow on all the social networks while they last, and we will keep you up to date there too. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.